Good afternoon, and hope you're having a great day. So, obviously the focus in this week's parsha, in this week's Torah portion, and the Dvar Torahs has been on Abraham, because at the end of the day, Abraham is the first Jew, the patriarch of the Jewish people. Abraham represents benevolence, chesed, kindness, caring for others. But there's one remarkable thing that we learn about at the beginning of this week's Torah portion. The Torah portion unfolds and opens up with God coming to visit Abraham as he's recovering from his circumcision on the third day when he's most vulnerable. And as Abraham is having a discussion with God, suddenly, Vayar, he sees there's three people. And he runs towards them, asking God to hold on and saying, hopefully I could, please let me go take care of these people and see how I could serve these guests. And the Talmud says something remarkable. The Talmud says that from here we learn that it is greater to receive and welcome guests than it is to receive the Shekhinah, the divine presence of Almighty God. And that's a shocking statement. And how could it be? Here I am with God in dialogue. How could I even see a guest? Never mind, pay attention to them and then leave God to run over to them. And the Gemara says something very beautiful. It says in Deuteronomy, we should walk after Almighty God. And the Talmud says, how could you walk after God? Isn't God a fire that consumes? God is so good. What does it mean to walk after God? And it says, just as God takes care of the sick, you should take care of the sick. Just as God comforts the mourners, you should comfort them. Just as God buries the dead, you should do the same. Meaning that walking after God means emulating God's kindness. And the rabbis give an example. Imagine you're sitting with one of your greatest friends, having a nice drink in a warm home by the fireplace, and you get a ring on the bell. And you look at your ring chat and you see that it's your friend who you're sitting with, it's their child. It's cold outside and they're sitting there without a coat. And you're thinking, should I continue my deep conversation with my good friend? Or should I go out and open the door and welcome his son in? Now, of course, we all know that if you sit and continue the conversation, your friend's mind will be at the door where his son is cold. And if you really cared for your friend, you would run and go open the door, because you wouldn't be going away from your friend, but actually by you going to the door, you'd be going closer to your friend, because that's where their will is. And the same is true with Almighty God. By us emulating God and having guests and sharing the wealth, sharing the love we have with others, we don't go further from God, but we come closer. And there's one little other anecdote that's really beautiful. You know, in the beginning it says that he sees three people standing above him. But then after Abraham brings them cheese, and then he brings them tongue, and he brings them bread, and he cares for them, and he gets them water to wash them, it says he's standing above them at the tree as they're eating. And the Chassidic masters say that it's not just a literal translation, but it's a metaphor. At the beginning, when Abraham sees the angels, they're towering above him. They're on a higher spiritual plane. But the moment Abraham goes and serves them and shows kindness and empathy to strangers, he stands above the angels. Not just literally, but metaphorically and spiritually. And the message is clear, that when we take care of God's children, when we show kindness, we're not running away from God, because Abraham would never do that, but we're actually running towards Almighty God. And there's a beautiful story. We all know the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Chassidic movement, that his parents had a tradition that they always invited guests, no matter who and when. And one time they had this real rowdy guest who kept on screaming at them and demanding more food and more delicacies and a better bed. And instead of getting frustrated, they kept on sharing and giving more and more and more. And finally, at the end of Shabbat, after Havdalah, and after he had derided them, he turned to the Baal Shem Tov's parents, who were childless at that point. And he said, I am really Elijah the prophet. And God has sent me here to test you. But because of your remarkable kindness in honoring and hosting Guestaways, you will be blessed with a child that will illuminate the world we live in. My friends, we live in a world that's dark. The more empathy and light and love and care we show, the closer we get to Almighty God, and the more blessed we'll be. God bless.